bravely and wholeheartedly face all hardships with 100% cheerfulness and give no importance to caste, creed, and religious ceremonies. This new life will live by itself eternally, even if there is no one to live it. So that's the why I just read it, because in 1949 Baba went on the new life, right? Then in 1951, which is nearing the end of the new life, the physical end of the new life, because the new life will never end. In February 1952, new life apparently physically ended. But in 1951, Ghani passed over. Ghani died in 1951. So all the effort that was done by Baba, in a sense, was wasted. Coming back from the new life in February 1952, Baba decided to travel to the west. We all know that immediately after that he went to the west. He inaugurated the Myrtle Beach Center. He intended to review the notes written down by Ghani, which he did. He took all the notes over there and said, let me have a look of what he has written. Then came the self-orchestrated, self-inflicted suffering by way of an automobile accident in Oklahoma in May 1952. We all know the first accident which Baba was talking about. Many people who are new may wonder, how can God meet with an accident? But he was giving hints. I don't want to again go into that. If you really read that part of it where Baba had said that I will have to shed my blood on the American soil. America is after my blood and all that. Okay. Then when Baba reviewed Ghani's work, Baba said, half of what I said to Ghani, he did not even put it there. He said, now I will have to dictate the notes all over again. That started in August 1953 in Dehradun. Baba again began to dictate for the upcoming book, which we now call God Speaks. So he now started dictating on the alphabet board to Eraj Jasawala. That went on for several months, and Eraj would take down the notes hurriedly as a scribe. And this continued even in Mahabaleshwar for some time in 1954. So it started in August 53 and it continued till 1954. When Baba finished his dictating to Eraj, Faram Working Bosswala and Bhav Kalchuri coordinated the typing of Eraj's handwritten pages, and Bhav also assisted in dividing the book into chapters, which are called paths in God Speaks. In God Speaks, we don't call chapters, we call paths. There are in totality 10 parts of God Speaks. At the end of the Sahwas of September 1954, we call it the 3 incredible weeks when the Westerners had come. There was one gentleman by the name Lud Dimphal. He was from Sufism reoriented. He had come. So Baba handed over the entire package of whatever notes that were dictated to Lud, and he asked him to be delivered to I.V.O. Deuce and Don Stevens. I.V.O. Deuce was the Murshida, that means the head of the Sufi order. Murshid is the man and Murshida is the lady. And Don Stevens at that time was also a Murshid. Was also a Sufi. Sorry? He was a Murid. Okay, Murid. I remember when first time I.V.O. Deuce introduced, this is my boy, Don, to Baba. Baba says, I know Don from the dawn of time. So I know him since the beginning. That kind of thing. All right. Okay. So it was given to Sufism, to I.V.O. Deuce and Don Stevens, and then Baba said they could fix up the grammar and the punctuations and make it ready for publication. So he gave the liberty to I.V. and Don. There's another story where Ivy would like to put too many commas, full stops and exclamation, and Don wouldn't, and there'll be a lot of to and fro happening. Charles Purdom was again one of British Baba lovers. He was a great scholar, he was a journalist, he was town planner, he was awarded many awards by the British government. He was a very, very devout follower of Meher Baba, who had written several books. Mainly among them was The Perfect Master, which actually the book which was read by me, the first book I have ever read, and Baba sucked me in, that kind of thing. So Charles was also given a copy of the manuscript, but Charles said it will take me 2 to 3 years to edit it and put it to the public, publish it. But then Baba always is in a hurry for doing everything and anything. So then the two of them, Ivy as well as Don, enthusiastically rushed to take up the task. Baba wanted the book to be published by the most renowned publisher in the world. He was very particular about who will be publishing. In those days, New York was considered the publishing capital of the world, and Dodd, Mead and Company was one of the most reputed publishing company in New York and all over the world who was entrusted with this work. So the original first edition which came about was done by Dodd, Mead and Company, New York. After Ivy and Don had begun their preliminary work, correspondence began between Baba's sister Mani and Ivy regarding preparation and publication of God Speaks. After their grammar and punctuation work was done, the manuscript was mailed to India for Baba to check, correct and add any additional points. So the manuscript was done by the West and it was sent to Baba. The supplement to God Speaks also have a supplement. There are 37 supplements. So when we read God Speaks, anytime there's a reference to supplement, we will stop reading God Speaks and jump over to the supplement, and so that it makes understanding the whole chapter much easier. The supplement to God Speaks was the material compiled from Ghani's notes over several years. Ghani was preparing his own notes for several years. Ghani, a Muslim, had deep knowledge of Sufism and was familiar with the various Islamic Sufi cults. The following is an excerpt of the letter written in 1955 by Mani to Ivy Deuce, describing how Baba checked that manuscript, which eventually became God Speaks. Why I wanted to read this out? Because Baba had taken so much of pains, word for word, changing it, so we should do honor to that particular effort which Baba has put. This appears in Lord Meher original publication, volume 13, pages 4600 and 4601. If somebody wants to refer, they can. This is the content of the letter which was written by Mani to Ivy O. Deuce. Quote, returning herewith the remaining half of the supplement. So it seems to me, I do recollect Mani speaking about it in the Mehrazad Mandli Hall, where half of the supplement was already given and the latter half was being corrected, and then Mani is now sending the remaining half. That's why there's a bracket called entire. The delay in returning this has been unavoidable, as will be noted from the corrections and additions Baba had made. Some of the pages needing many corrections or overhauling, and then she quotes the page numbers. Okay, I'll quote as pages 279, 284, 289, 294, footnote of 297, 302 and 311, or complete editions such as page 271 and 276 have been retyped in blue. They're very meticulous about writing these things. Baba has wanted me to type notes as taken down and worked on by Ramju and Erach under Baba's direct instructions and guidance. He therefore wants you to note these pages carefully and make all necessary grammatical corrections or alterations in the English for greater clarity or expression, keeping the sense entire. This is very important, that Baba would give it and then leave it to somebody, see that the sense is kept intact. The meaning behind what Baba is trying to convey should be kept intact. Your original pages corrected are attached corresponding to the freshly typed ones. On many other pages, the corrections were done in red pencil, red or blue ink, not yet typed for lack of time. Because of lack of time, they did not type it out. It was just written in pencil pen and sent out. And the Mandali concerned wished to convey their regrets about these corrections not being inserted more tidily. One of the reasons being great rush of and lack of time, especially in case of Eraj, who had also to see to his other multifarious duties in spite of and Ramju working on it far into the night at times. The contents were read out to Baba by Eraj. This is how generally it would be done. Even if you write a letter to Baba, it would be read out. Baba would not read it himself. It would be read out to Baba, and then Baba would dictate the answer or reply. Somebody would write it, and then it would be posted. The contents were read out to Baba by Eraj, with Ramju to help incorporate points in question, and another Hindu disciple, Bhav, playing a strange role. When I read this, why Hindu disciple? Because now I realize that in 1955, Bhav just came into Baba's contact. So maybe the Western Mandali, the Western disciples were not even aware of who Bhav is. So Mani is stressing that Hindu disciple, Bhav. And he had to play a very strange role. Now what is the role that? For overcoming the impossibility of conveying through ordinary gestures the terms or names in Sufism or Vedantism, and sometimes a word or essence not to be grasped through Baba's patiently repeated gestures, Baba would have the Hindu disciple recite the alphabet A, B, C, D, E, stopping him with his raised hands when he had come to that particular alphabet. So,
Baba had stopped even at the alphabet one.
yeah. No, but he could have gestured. He could have gestured, yeah. See, okay, what Soumya is prompting, which is, I have that little later, but since he said, we all know or we should know that Baba used the alphabet board till the 6th of October 1954, and on the 7th of October, just a few days back, Baba, we call it, discarded the alphabet board and only used hand gestures and facial expressions to convey whatever he had to convey. Now there are certain words which are in Sufism which when we read, you will see how we are struggling to pronounce it and know what the meaning is all about. So Baba would ask Bhav to repeat A, B, C, D. Now supposing, just a saying, extreme is the word. So X, stop. Then again he would say T, stop, like that. So that way extreme is a very simple word. That way the words were formed by Baba. That much meticulous effort Baba had to put in order to see that every word of his has that spiritual energy attached to it. Reach the first alphabet of the word Baba had in mind. Starting all over again, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Baba would stop him at the second letter and so on laboriously until the word or sense or sentence was complete. This is why it took so much time. Mani is explaining to the West why it took so much time for correction. This is why it took so much time to return it to you. Baba worked 4 to 5 hours at it daily, listening, correcting, adding. I am only writing this for I know it will interest you and Don, into brackets Stevens, because there was one Dr. Donkin who was Baba's Mandali and stayed with Baba. He was also known as Don amongst the Baba community. So she is specifying Don into brackets Stevens. To know now, in spite of his self-imposed handicaps, Baba has minutely attended to this book that you both are working on wholeheartedly. I think it would have done dear Ghani's heart good to see the numerous points Baba has corrected, changed and added. I also see now more than ever why Baba wished the supplement ascribed to the efforts of some of his disciples. The supplement, Baba had just passed it on to Ivy and Don, and see, just have a look at it. See if you feel something is worthwhile, then you incorporate it in God Speaks. And they both said that the very fact that Baba has taken the trouble to give it to us to analyze and to study and to correct and means somewhere indirectly Baba wants it to be incorporated, and so we are incorporating it. You will be happy to note, I am sure, that Baba has touched on your question of a previous letter regarding angels and archangels in the new 6 pages Baba has added. So I assume that those subjects were not there in the original manuscript, and Baba added that. What are angels, what are archangels? I have added a footnote 271 for I think it is interesting. It is from remarks made by Baba at the time Donkin and I were working on Ghani's material, but he would not say more. I have read it to Baba and he says it is okay, but won't add to it, saying that the subject would make a volume in itself. Capital letters do not put in. So many times, many subtle subjects are asked of Baba, and Baba would not give answers, or he would refuse to give answers and say, that's too much, because now if I add this, then it will be a very voluminous work. So he said, okay. So later when God Speaks was published, so many questions came up. Those questions were asked of Baba, and Baba dictated in his own way. And that is how Beams, there's a book called Beams from Meher Baba that came about as a corollary, as a continuation of God Speaks. So whenever we used to read God Speaks in Bombay Center or in Pune, we would immediately follow it with Beams. All right. So Baba says, do not put it. I also remember his saying something about the brainy inventions made on our earth are usually by some soul reincarnating from one of the other 2 worlds. But I am really not at all sure about this, so I have not put it in, and Baba seemed tired and disinclined to answer more. So maybe Baba has indicated that in the last 100 years, so many inventions are coming up. Science has really gone by leaps and bounds, you know. So Baba had indicated that there are other worlds other than Earth where human beings exist. And the only thing is they have got 100% intellect and no heart, no feelings. There's another which has got 75 and 25 and we are 50-50, that's what Baba. But Mani says, since I don't know for sure what exactly Baba indicated, I have not put it in. So they are the ones who have reincarnated on Earth, because Earth is the only planet where you can say where the perfect masters are there, where the inner spiritual part, what we call as the involutionary journey takes place, and from where God realization or mukti can take place. So Earth is the most spiritual, so to speak, world among so many worlds and galaxies. All right. On March, okay, do correct the English of the footnote as necessary. I do not know if a better explanation or line is necessary for the expression head and heart. Anyway, I leave it to you. Put it if you like it and as you like it. Manija, unquote. So this is the letter which was written. On March 18, 1955, Baba began signing approximately 500 title pages of God Speaks. The actual numbers is 498. Soon to be published in America. This signing of the title pages was to raise funds to pay for the printing of the book. God has to do, I know, thank you. God has to do the fundraising, you know. And it says, although Dodd Mead of New York was the publishing company, Sufism reoriented, financed God Speaks. So Soumya is doing like this. We, by Baba's grace, I would like to say, yesterday I heard a very nice sentence from Babs, you know, it came in our lap. So this book, which is signed by Baba, yeah, you can just put it on. This is signed by Baba. Its number which is given as 311, 311 out of 498 books which Baba signed that time. It came in our lap and we just took it, So since we are doing the initial talk on God Speaks, I thought I'll carry it. You can have a look at it. I would prefer, not to touch the head, and because it's not, you are free to show your respects, but it's now almost how many years old, that way. All right. The following is the promotional book review of God Speaks written by scholar W.Y. Evans Vance, entitled The Uniqueness and Paramount Value of God Speaks. So one scholar, Western scholar, has given the promotional book review. All this I am saying is not in the book. So I am just creating an atmosphere for each one of us to realize what an important book this is and how fortunate we are that we have been given this opportunity to read that book and even attempt at understanding it as best as we can through our limited intellect. No other teacher in our own time or in any known past time has so minutely analyzed consciousness as Meher Baba has in God Speaks. Occidental is something to do with the West, like Oriental has to do with the East. Psychology, especially under the illustrious leadership of Dr. Carl Jung, has made great advances in the study of the unconscious and of the dream state. But because of its necessary adherence to conservative methods of scientific research, it has not been able as yet to fathom the deep of the seer. Okay, to put it in simple words, he was a scientist, psychologist, and any science, any branch of science, they have to work within the parameter of science. You can't go beyond that. So he says that within that, he could not go, he is analyzing the object, but he has not put his attention on the subject. The one who is the seer, he has not done that. So that is what he is trying to convey. So for the science circumscribed psychologists who are circumscribed by the rules of the science, God Speaks should prove to be of paramount importance in inspiring further progress of the psychological pathway. That is what the person is saying. Correlatively, noteworthy in particular is part 8 on the evolution of consciousness. Part 8 is a huge part where Baba talks about the evolution of consciousness. First, there is creation, then there is evolution. Evolution starts from the gaseous state. From the gases, you have the stone, metal, minerals. From that, you have the vegetables, the vegetation. Then you have the worms, insects. Then you have the fish, the birds, the animals, and the human beings. All this comes under the word evolution. Once you reach the human consciousness, evolution is full and complete. There is no further expansion, extension of evolution. There are many workshops where they talk about, expansion of, consciousness. There is no further expansion. After having the human body, human form, you have what is known as reincarnation. You keep repeating, coming and going, only as human beings. As men, as women, Easterner, Westerner, black, white, healthy, sick, whatever, based on our own karmas. No going back into the uni or the species earlier than the human. So the Baba when we read, we'll go more deep into this. And after reincarnation, there is involution. Involution means treading or walking the inner spiritual path or the path to realization. And then we have final realization. So there is creation, evolution, reincarnation, involution, realization. So here he is saying that part 8 deals in depth on the evolution of consciousness and part 9 on the 10 states of God. When we come, we'll do it. To which is attached a diagram linking together the most generally accepted Sufi, Vedantic and Christian mystical equivalents. Like how Baba says that I have come to bring all religions like beads on one string. So if you look at that chapter, for example in Vedanta, people talk about Paratpar Par Brahma, whereas Christian mystics would talk about the beyond state of God. And the Sufi will talk about the Gaib ul Gaib state or Vara ul Vara state. So Baba has listed out. So this is what the Vedantic thought. This is the same thing which mystics say. This is the same thing which the Sufis say. And we are fighting on words. We are all fighting on words. So that's a very beautiful, it's interwoven that all religions are nothing but basically the same thing. As a whole, the book marks clearly the at-one-man means becoming one with someone or something. At-one-man means in harmony or in accord with, of the essentials of the various historic religions in the light of the gnosis. Gnosis means the inner spiritual knowledge of the Sufis. Meher Baba's enlightening treatise adds much to the sum total of learning and contributes incalculably to the enrichment of mankind. For, as the sages of Asia teaches, the most intrinsically valuable of all riches, the greater than all mundane wealth is right knowledge, capital K. Nowhere in Baba's wisdom more succinctly set forth than in conclusion. Now Baba's conclusion, the last page, if you see page number 176. To understand, this is good for us also, to understand the infinite eternal reality is not the goal of individualized beings in the illusion of creation. We are not here to understand this because the reality can never be understood. It is to be realized by conscious experience. Lord Meher, volume 13, page number 4599. During the time of 1955 Sahwas, the book was already out and Baba made a reference to the book from time to time. This is what Baba had to say to some of the Sahwasis. Now it is important for us to know what was Baba's view for us in respect of the book. I want you all to take particular note that I would feel happy if each one of you not only possessed and read and digested God Speaks from the first to the last page as the last book of its kind by me. This is the last word. No discussion, argument on the words which are given in God Speaks. I will likewise be happy if those among you who can possibly do so will see that this work is translated and made available in as many languages as possible for those who cannot read and understand English. To the best of my knowledge, Don Stevens had made a lot of effort in translating God Speaks into several European languages that I know. And in India, of course, the English is there. There's a Gujarati translation. There are two Hindi translations. There's a Telugu translation, and there's a Marathi translation. These are the translations of the Indian languages. You will find God Speaks is a very unique book. Never before have such things been disclosed by me. You will understand through your mind the why and wherefore of your being. And after reading it, do not pretend that you are God unless and until you experience it is nothing. So basically these are some points which I had taken. And as I said, today we may not even start God Speak. These are just an overview. We still have a lot of time. So now there are a few Baba quotes, Quotes, which have been taken from Lord Meher. Again, same thing. We'll read this, try to understand it, And time willing, if we have the time, we'll start with God Speaks. The unique fact of this epic of the living avatar being written during his lifetime. Many of the religious books we call Bible or Avastha or the Quran or any other book, have been, to my understanding, have been written much after the leader, the teacher has passed over. Here the beauty of this is it has been written in the living time of the avatar. It has been gone through by the avatar, corrected, checked and altered wherever he wanted it to be done. The unique fact of this epic of the living avatar being written during his lifetime and being heard by him in physical form will have a great bearing and significance for posterity. It has a lot of weightage, it has a lot of bearing that it is written during his lifetime. This is from Lord Meher, volume 16, page 5526. I am giving the source so that we are sure about the authenticity of what we are discussing here. This book will be the first and the last of its kind. Nothing of this sort has been written before, and Baba said this is the last. Volume 11, page 3793. Take my advice and accept God Speaks as the final authority. Nothing of its kind has been recorded before. This was said in one of the Savas programs, I believe. Lord Meher 5, volume 5. Lord Meher, volume 16, page number 5665. My love will touch the heart of all who read it, as no book has ever done. It will appeal to the highest intellects and to those with simple hearts. Lord Meher, volume 16, 5528. Read God Speaks. It will test your intelligence and also open the heart. It will provide food for the mind and for the heart too. Lord Meher, volume 17, page 5829. If you read through the entire book carefully, you will come to know what true spirituality is. Volume 18, page 5940. When I break my silence, that book will be priceless. It will be treasured by the whole world. Lord Meher, volume 14, page number 4957. In a letter to Alan Cohen, he was a doctor, he was a professor in the West, and he was into drugs. So was Rick Chapman and Robert Dreyfus. And Baba was squarely against drugs. Baba would say that if God can be achieved through the medium of any drug, then God is not worthy of being God. And so many other statements which very emphatically Baba said, no drugs. I remember Don Stevens again once having asked Baba, I just want to try it once, just once, to know what it is. Why are people craving for drugs? And Baba said very sternly, not even once, not even once. So when they got to know about Meher Baba, there was a lot of communication to and fro happening, and Baba would give them the, this is the 60s, where, end of 60s, 1960s. And finally the three were stalwarts, there may be many hundreds more. They were so convinced about Baba's statements that not only did they just discarded the drugs, stop taking the drugs, but they became the apostles. They became the ambassadors of Baba in the West, going from school to school, college to college, giving radio talks on the disadvantage and the harm which the drugs could give you. Baba says taking drugs is harmful physically, mentally and spiritually. So now one of the passages that I just picked up from somewhere, where Adi K. Irani, Baba's secretary, of course on Baba's behest, he is writing, Meher Baba wants you to study the book God Speaks. for it will help you to understand the mystery of life ephemeral and the truth of existence eternal. Baba always used to emphasize that life, we used to always say, oh, you are just existing, you must live your life. That's what, but Baba says just the opposite. Baba said that life is ephemeral, life is transient, life is impermanent, life is a passing show. Existence is the real thing. And giving emphasis on existence, Baba says, when somebody said that, I don't believe in God, I'm an atheist. So Baba would say, in a sense, everybody is an atheist unless and until you experience God unless you experience yourself as God. You are an atheist. You are simply saying it, that I believe in God, when you don't know who God is, And on the other hand, nobody is an atheist, because as long as you continue to believe in your own existence, this is where the word comes, in your own existence, you are indirectly testifying the existence of God, because God is nothing but existence, infinite and eternal. So here, Baba, this is the word Adi K. Irani says, it will help you to understand the mystery of life, ephemeral, which is impermanent, transient, passing show, and the truth of existence, eternal. The book God Speaks is a very important textbook for all students who are keen to understand the fundamental purpose and mechanics of life and the universe. God Speaks reveals to us that all the experiences, even of spiritual aspirants of the path to God realization, gotten in the natural course of involution of consciousness, that is bracketed, not gotten through, going high through drugs, are of the domain of illusion and are ephemeral and absolutely unimportant. Many of us, sometimes we get some experiences, I was in meditation and I saw light or some tinkling of the bells or very beautiful aroma or something, all kinds of experiences. Baba says all kinds of experiences, wherever you may be, a normal human being or on the spiritual path, or you are a wali or you are a peer, all experiences are in the domain of illusion. The only experience that is worthwhile is the experience of the I am God state. Everything else is nothing but an illusion. And therefore Baba never gave importance to miracles. Baba never gave importance to any of these experiences, because these experiences can trap us into that, oh, I am somebody different from you. Oh, I got this. You did not get this experience, so I am somebody high up, or I am having some different, I'm different from you. That kind of thing. Are the domain of illusion and are ephemeral and absolutely unimportant. How much more illusory and distracting can be the experience of a layman in a laboratory who experiments with drugs to induce experiences with the semblance of those of an aspirant on the spiritual path. Even the experience of the aspirants on the spiritual path are illusory. So how much more illusory are these experiences that you get through means of, the tablets or whatever, the chemicals. To Richard Dreyfuss, regarding stopping drug, Baba says, Baba says, read God Speaks again and again until you feel it singing in your veins. And Robert had come and met Baba during his last days. Mani's letter to Ivio Deuce and CC to DES. DES means Don E. Stevens. Satara. It was written in Satara, 12th of December 1954, 8 a.m. All this is given, so I'm just saying. You may tell them it is Baba's particular wish to give this book of his the widest and best distribution, the best publisher possible. that its tremendous value will be recognized later as the direct words of God. It will be recognized as the direct words of God. So much for the building up of the ground level talking. Now we are starting to read God speak. Do we have the time? Am I right? Yeah, we still have about half an hour to go. So now, okay. You want the
God
mic?
speaks.
Can we have the mic? Or is she audible? All right, I'll just lean a little this way.
No other work has yet been published which takes the reader so deeply into the fundamental mechanics of life and the universe. God Speaks is a minutely detailed description of the journey of the soul from the time of its creation until it has completed its function in the evolution
Little louder.
and involution of consciousness and has returned to the oversoul from which it originated. The flowering of each stage in the developmental pattern is described from several standpoints, and the characteristics and difficulties of certain key steps along the way are considered in detail. In reading God Speaks, one has the sense of an unlimited breadth of viewpoint in which the teachings of all the great world religions are literally brought together like beads on one string. The special knowledges of each are incorporated into a comprehensive description of the goal of creation, and certain basic misunderstandings of the teachings of the messengers of the ages are deftly corrected so that a consistent fundamental pattern of the origins and destiny of man emerges. Students of philosophy and religion will find much material which is entirely new or which had previously been advanced only in very fragmentary form. With precision and lucidity, Meher Baba clarifies and defines formerly diffuse concepts. Regarding evolution and consciousness, he says, it is well to remember always that the beginning is a beginning in consciousness, the evolution is an evolution in consciousness, the end, if there be an end, is an end in consciousness. On concluding the volume, one is left with a conviction that regardless of the mechanism by which it may have been accomplished, truly the voice of God has been heard.
Now these, is it a continuation? Is this a continuation? No, okay. Sorry? No, she's reading the cover page. We said cover to cover, that's why.
The jacket.
The jacket. All right. All right. Basically, I may not go deep into this, but just a few things. One is the editor says that there were certain concepts which were very loose or which were projected to humanity which were not correct. Now, I'll tell you one such concept is that Darwin says in his theory that consciousness is the product of the changing human form. In other words, what he is trying to convey is that the form precedes and the consciousness follows. Whereas Baba says that it is the other way round. The consciousness precedes and the form follows, which when we come to the reading, we'll get to know that as the samskaras or the impressions become more and more complex, it requires more and more complex forms in order to experience the samskaras. So in other words, form is a byproduct of consciousness and not the other way around. So that was one concept. The other concept we were discussing this morning is that we talk about sanskaras. Baba says that many people have just given the Shariat part of sanskaras. Baba calls it a sugary syrup, But as Baba has gone very deep into sanskaras, and the understanding is that it is good to have more and more good sanskaras. But Baba says no. In fact, this morning we discussed, good sanskaras also bind. You have to have a clean slate. So-called bad sanskaras are those sanskaras, like you are bound with chains, which are, let's say, iron, spiked, rusted, whatever, and your hands are bound, so you can't escape. The good sanskaras, again, they are chains, but they are golden chains, very shining chains, but nonetheless they are chains, and they bind the legs. That's where in one of the messages Baba has said. But your hands are free, so with the free hand you can free your samskaras. So in other words, the concept that you keep on accumulating good samskaras, in a way it is good, but they need to be balanced at the end of the journey. And therefore, like I discussed this morning, in Zoroastrianism we have got 3 tenets. We call it Humata, Hukta, Huvarasta. Good thoughts, good words, good deeds. So somebody asked Baba, what more have you taught? If this is the be all and end all of this thing. And Baba said, that is the time when Baba says, good thoughts, good words and good deeds also bind. What you require is God thoughts, God words and God deeds. And for that, when you are doing good, don't think that you are the doer. The moment the doership, karta, kartutva abhiman we call it, when that comes, then you get bound. So these are the concepts which Baba is clarifying. The other concept, Zoroastrians believe in one birth and one death. So do the Christians and so do the Muslims. But the Vedantic thought, Ramakrishna, they talk about several births and deaths. We call it 84 lakh, 84 lakhs of coming and going. So how can there be two different concepts when Baba says that I am the same one who keeps coming over and over again? I was Rama, I was Krishna, I was this one, I was that one, and now I am Meher Baba. So how is it that you have taught different things at different times? Then Baba says, there is no difference. It is the same thing. The difference is in the interpretation of what the masters have said. And that is there in the supplement. When we come to it, the first real birth is where the drop apparently separates from the ocean because of the existence of a bubble. These are all illusions. And the one real death is when the bubble bursts and the drop becomes one with the ocean, and the experience is Aham Brahmasmi. I am the ocean. Not I am a drop or I am a part of the ocean. I am the ocean. Because the characteristic of the ocean is, it is not only infinite, it is not only eternal, but it is also indivisible. Ocean cannot be divided. So the experience, so all this, when we come to it gradually, so this is what the first cover page is saying, that this is a book where many loosely occurring concepts have been made taught, and Baba has amplified on them, and Baba has rectified the wrong thinking, and he has brought all the religious concepts like beads on one string. The same thing like how I said, the Parat Par Brahma and beyond the beyond state and Vara Ulvara state, it is just the same. Now we come to, all right, this is, no need to read the chapter.
God's peace,
okay.
the theme of creation and its purpose by Meher Baba.
Okay, okay, fine. I don't want to read this. Now you read again. No need to read this.
Dedication to the universe, the illusion that sustains reality.
Now, this may require a little. This book is dedicated to what? To whom? To the universe, Brahmand. The illusion that sustains reality. Now, if some intellectual reads this, he may throw out the book. He said, How can an illusion sustain reality? Now let us go a little deeper into this, First of all, let us understand what is the meaning of illusion. What is illusion? Many people say very loosely, Maya. But Baba has been very categorical, not here, elsewhere. Maya is not illusion. Maya is the creator of illusion. Maya creates illusion. The oft repeated example which Baba has given, and we all keep giving the same thing. There is a dark room and there is a rope lying in the dark room, and all of a sudden you open the door and enter, and what do you see? The illusion of a snake. And then what happens? You palpitate, your blood pressure either drops or goes up, you may become unconscious, whatever it is. So it is Maya that created the illusion and gave a false impression to the person that this is a snake. Am I making myself clear? Now, this is where really God Speaks starts, and we need to be a little interactive. If you want to ask, you can ask questions. So I have jotted down a few points on what is illusion. Something that a person wrongly supposes to exist. I am erroneously, wrongly supposing something to exist. That is the illusion. A false belief about the nature of something is an illusion. The nature of something is totally different, but I falsely believe that the nature of this thing is something else. That is an illusion. To conjure up, to just bring up something from nothing, that is an illusion. Produce something out of nothing is an illusion. It is a product of the mind. Illusion is something which is not real. So basically that one word illusion we are trying to understand, and Baba says that the entire creation is illusion. And here we are reading God Speaks in illusion. Somebody had asked, you mean to say Baba is, please ask. Would you like to give the mic?
No, I'll speak loud enough.
Sorry?
I'll speak loud enough.
Yeah, okay.
Would you say that's imagination?
Yes, you can say yes, imagination is a part of illusion. Yes, correct. It is not a reality, but imagination could be a reality also. You see, there's no word occurring in my understanding as but yes, it could be a part of the illusion also. Imagination also can lead you to illusion. So that is illusion. So Baba, dedication, Samarpit, I am giving this book. To whom? To the illusion. That sustains the reality. That is sustaining the reality. Sustains means what? Yes, please. I think you may need a mic. Do you? Yeah, okay, please. We started with the prayer which says that only God is real. Nothing besides God is real. Everything exists in the domain of non-existence. Now, we are going into a little deeper water. Supposing I am standing, there's sunlight coming from behind, the shadow exists. The shadow exists. I can't say that it does not exist, you see, but the shadow is nothing. The shadow is nothing. But because there is a shadow, you might say that there must be something which is giving out this shadow. So that something is reality, that something is God, and God's shadow is creation. Now, you understand? And because God is infinite, His shadow also is infinite. I think it is in God Speaks only where Baba says that the moment, now I am going into a little, God is everything. God is everything. Now everything cannot be everything unless there is also nothing. Am I making sense? Yeah, I know. God cannot, everything cannot be everything unless there is also nothing inside. And when whim or the urge or the hooky or the lahar took place, the creation started. Creation started from a very finite point. The point is very finite, called the Om point or the creation point. And the nothingness of the nothing started oozing out of the finite point. But what is oozing out is infinite, because God is infinite. Now, but because you asked the question much before we came to that point, so this is how we'll have fun reading God speaks, and at the end of it, let's understand that we can't understand. We are just playing around with words in a sense. So it is dedicated to the universe. The universe, as we said, is Brahman, everything. The illusion that sustains. What is the meaning of sustains? Something that supports, something that confirms or upholds. It is the illusion that is upholding the reality. It is illusion that is confirming the reality. For example, if there was, let's say, no darkness, how would you recognize the light as light? How would you recognize the light as light unless and until there is an opposite of light called darkness, which supports and upholds light? Am I making sense? So it is always the opposite that gives credence or the astitva to that. Am I making sense? So here it supports or confirms. And then the reality. What is reality? Something that is really existing, quite apart from imagination and quite apart from falsity. Now here I have jotted down some few points which I think is good to Baba's statements, all Baba's statements. When real light appears, I repeat, when real light appears, this darkness which you think is light disappears. I'll repeat it. We think that this is real. In other words, when reality appears, this falsity, this Brahm, this Bhas, this illusion, which we think is real, will disappear. There will be no creation, there will be no world, there will be no separate I, only the Paramatma. So when real light appears, this darkness which you think is light disappears. Another one. These are all Baba's statements taken from all over. Knowing the false as false is knowing the truth. There's something called false, and we are all following the false, the illusion. But the moment you know the false as false, experientially, not intellectually, because intellect has no meaning. Baba has said this, that understanding has no meaning. Love has meaning. Obedience has more meaning. Holding my daman has the most meaning. So intellect is at a very low level, Baba is saying. Above intellect, there are many layers of understanding, finalizing in realization. First, there is instinct. Many times we say, I instinctively felt like this. But Baba says instinct belongs to the animal kingdom. Intellect is fully developed in human beings. Then there is inspiration. Then there is intuition. Then there is insight. Then there is illumination. And then there is realization. So these are the various levels of our experiencing and understanding. Whereas we are stuck on the intellect and we think, oh, we are very intellectual. I hope I'm making sense. So here Baba says, knowing the false as false is knowing the truth. But here we are knowing the false and thinking it is the truth. That is where all this garbadi is happening. A third one, again a very profound one. A dream becomes a dream only upon waking. Try to understand. A dream becomes a dream only upon waking. A dream is never a dream when you are dreaming. When you are dreaming, a dream comes to us as a reality. It's only when you wake up that you, oh my God, this was all a dream. So Baba says that this entire Jamela, this entire creation is nothing but a divine dream. And since we are the actors in that dream, we think that this is real. But according to those who have realized God, who are God realized, this is a dream. This is just a shadow. This is a nothing into nothing. Baba says this is nothing into nothing. Many times people will go to Baba and narrate their dreams. I dreamt like this, I dreamt like this. What is the connotation? What is the meaning of these dreams? And Baba would laugh it off and say, this itself is a big dream. What is the value of a dream within a dream? You see? And there are books written on dreams. There are gurus who would dissect and give you what this dream means. It has its own meaning. Let me not put them down or make it feel wrong. But we must understand anything. There are so many things happening in the world. Again, I am not this tarot card reading and this healing and that healing. Everything is right in its own place. But where is it happening? In the domain of illusion. So what is the importance? That is why Baba keeps on harping, hold on to my Daman, just think about me, just remember me, forget everything else. But we run helter-skelter, we run here and there.
If Baba comes in a dream, how do you?
Swami is saying, if Baba comes in a dream, how do we? Well, my understanding would be anything, not just Baba coming in the dream, any experience, anything that helps us to go closer towards Baba is a, I would say, is a worthwhile, dream. You see, but if I say, oh, Baba comes in my dream, he doesn't come in your dream, so I am very special. Then the moment you distinguish, you are aggrandizing, we are aggrandizing our ego-centric self. So there are many people who say, oh, sorry?
In their dreams, they get a view of what's going to happen. So
No, are you asking question? Or?
I'm just putting your thought process to
You're supposed to be on my side.
No, I'm not testing. I'm putting a viewpoint. So these have come up.
Many times, premonition we call it. Something to happen in the future. And in the totality of things, I don't understand what I'm saying myself. Baba says there is no past, there is no future. If at all anything is happening, it is happening in the eternal now. So the present moment or the eternal now is all, it is comprised or compressed of all of your illusory past and your illusory future. So a person who is in the now may get glimpses of something which is to happen in our language, what we call future. I don't know whether I'm because Baba also tried to explain it in a similar manner, but he never gave any importance to that, because at the end of the day, in what domain is it happening? It is happening in the domain of duality, it is happening in the domain of illusion. So Baba would say, okay, just read it, just understand it and pass on. Do not give too much of. Baba never undermined illusion. He never undermined. He said illusion is necessary. It is because of illusion that we became human beings. Ego is necessary. Because of that we have come to become human beings, you see. But it had its own role to play. It has played its role. Now your job is to eradicate your illusion. Many people say, I want to annihilate my ego. Ego, Baba says, is the real thing. Ego is real. Ego is existence. Ego cannot be annihilated. It is the mind that is to be annihilated. Baba talks about three types of ego. One is the natural ego, the original, in the Paratpar Parbrahma state. We are not yet in that state. Paratpar Parbrahma state means God in the beyond state, where God is, but consciousness is not. It is the exact same state where we all go to every single day of our life when we go into sound sleep state. When we are in sound sleep state, I am. But the consciousness that I am is not there. That is the natural ego or the original ego. Baba calls it that. Then the moment the illusory creation started, I am a gas, I am a stone, I am a this, I am a that, I am a this. That is the false ego. All this is the false ego. And the moment at the fag end of the journey when the bubble bursts and the drop becomes one with the ocean and Anal Haq, Aham Brahmasmi, I am God state, that is the real ego. So ego is transmuted from being false ego to the real ego. Ego is never annihilated. And that last stage can come only when the mind is annihilated. Mind is the crucible of all our desires, all our samskaras, it's like a box where everything is jamaud, everything is, is all bundled up. And when the mind is annihilated, you get to the real ego. So remember, ego is real, mind is false. Yes? Yeah, Neha has a question.
Can you define ego in one word or in a sentence?
Astitva, existence, existence. Well, that's it. It always existed. It is there from the beginless beginning, and it will continue to exist till the endless end. That is all.
Ego is existence.
Ego is existence. Sorry, didn't catch you.
Not clear.
See, okay. The ego is the aham, is the I-ness, is existence. Existence means anything that exists. That is ego. Beingness. No. I know it is a no. Existence is exist. Baba says, okay, what Baba says I can only repeat. Baba says ego is the real thing. Mind is false. Ego cannot be annihilated because ego being existence existed even before time came in. When did time come in? Time came in when mind came in. Time is a construct of the mind, past, present and future. When did past, present and future came in? When duality came in. You understand? When creation came in, we are talking about time. Before that, it is the beginless beginning. And Baba says that ego is existence, which means it always existed and will always exist. It is existing now only. That is the understanding I have of ego, what Baba has explained. Ego and consciousness. Okay. Basically, ego is existence, whereas consciousness is something that gets evolved from the most finite consciousness. Baba uses those terminologies when we come to that. Sorry? The most rudimentary consciousness in the stone stage. So consciousness is that which changes, which evolves and becomes full in the first human form, whereas ego always existed.
Where the gross, subtle and mental bodies are completing, they're forming consciousness. For consciousness to be whole and complete, the gross, the subtle and the mental bodies. So gas in rudimentary, it's slowly developing, and in human being, it is whole and complete because all the three bodies are whole and complete. That is consciousness. Whereas
Ego is existence, astitva, is exactly 6 o'clock. more or less we try to start on time. We don't wait for anybody. Even if there's one person, we know Baba is present. When we declare a time, we start at that time and try to end at the time given. It's sharp 6:01 if I'm not mistaken. We try to end. If there's a thought process, then we continue for 2, 3, 5 minutes. That's besides the point. Sorry?
Fortnight.
It's a fortnightly. I will see, I will talk with the authorities, and if it is possible for make it more frequent, we'll try to do it more frequent, subject to availability of the hall and people who are managing the show. Yes, Monica? Ego is not bad. False ego is bad. So that is why many people mistake ego with the ego mind. Baba uses the word ego mind, which is the false ego, there's nothing bad or wrong, good. In Baba's terminology, nothing good or bad. It all somehow drives you to that goal, you see. So I think I need to thank once again beloved Baba for giving us this opportunity. Thank you, Baba, and thanks to all of you. Such a lovely, whatever you call it, Baba community that will meet more often. And of course, it's being recorded. Hopefully, people will look at it at their leisure. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Thank you, Baba. Jai Baba.